Good morning to all and welcome to the session 200 grammar rules. So far you have learned 167 rules and today you're going to learn 168 to 180. All these rules you're going to learn and rule number 168, this comes under conquered rules and it is related to a phrase. What is a phrase over here? The number. And what is a rule? Phrase the number always takes a singular verb. Whenever you learn a particular rule, you have to focus on the key words. Here, the number singular verb. That's what you have to focus on. The number of students has gone up. Usually, in the exam under pressure, or if you're not aware of the rule, you focus on the word students, plural, and you may think the verb should be in the plural form. But what is the subject here? It is not students. The subject is a phrase, the number. And the rule says the phrase the number takes a singular verb. Based on that, the number has gone up. Of students is another phrase, put it in brackets. Then you look at the sentence. The number has gone up. Perfect. The number of tourists visiting the place has become quite substantial. A lengthy sentence. But here again, what is the subject? The number. After that, you have of tourists visiting the place. Put all these words in brackets. Now you ask the question. The number, singular verb, has become quite substantial. The sentence is correct. Third example, the number of cases has come down. Again, the subject, the number, the phrase, of cases, one more phrase, but don't consider. The number has come down. Here, the number singular verb, an important rule. A rule number 169, this also goes with conquered rules, phrases. Here the phrase is a number, but this is not that important. They have given in many competitive exams the rule based on the number, not a number, but nothing wrong in learning. The phrase a number always takes a plural verb. The number singular verb and a number plural verb. Look at the examples. A number of students. Here, what is the subject? The phrase a number. Of students, that is one more phrase, but put it in brackets. A number takes a plural verb, have not turned up today. Nothing wrong. Again, a number of books. Second phrase, put it in brackets. Ask the question, what is the subject? A number. It takes a plural verb, are lying over there. Nothing wrong. A number of flowers are on display. Again, a number of flowers, another phrase, put it in brackets. A number, plural verb, nothing wrong. So these two phrases are very important from the exam point of view. But between the two, the number they have given many a time. Rule number 170. This also goes with phrases. And what is the phrase over here? The phrase many a. The phrase many a takes a singular verb and a singular noun. There are two things you have to consider. One singular verb, the other singular noun. Look at the example. Many a. In all the three examples, we have the same phrase. But many a, whenever you see at the beginning of the sentence, many a, the phrase, you have to think of two dimensions. One, the noun should be in the singular form. Second, the verb should be in the singular form. Bird singular has singular. Many a book singular has singular been bought by them. Many a disease has broken out. In all these examples, we have a singular noun and a singular verb. In the exam, they may give a sentence like, many a birds have visited the sanctuary. In fact, they have given in one of the exams. But do remember, the moment you see the phrase many a, you have to become alert and you have to recollect the rule. What is the rule? The phrase many a takes a singular noun and a singular verb. An important rule. Rule number 171. This is also an important rule. It goes with conquered rules. And what is this rule about? Fraction. If a fraction is a subject, whenever you learn, I would like to reiterate, whenever you learn a rule or a concept, you should always focus on the key words. Here, the key words: if a fraction is a subject, the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows a fraction. A bit complicated, but if you listen twice or thrice, you understand. If a fraction is a subject, the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows a fraction. Here, keywords fraction, phrase, and noun. Based on the noun, the verb you have to use. For example, two thirds. What is a fraction here? Two thirds. And this is a subject, and this is followed by a phrase. What is a phrase? Of the book. And in this phrase, there is a noun. What is a noun? Book. The rule says if a fraction is a subject, the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows the fraction. Here, what is a noun? Book, that is singular. Obviously, we have to use a singular verb. Is interesting. Two thirds of the book is interesting. Look at the second example. Again, fraction is the subject of the books. A phrase followed the fraction, which is a subject. What is a phrase? Of the books. And here, what is a noun? Books. It is in the plural form. The rule says the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows a fraction, which is a subject. Based on that, a plural verb. Two thirds of the books are interesting. Two thirds of the boxes. Boxes, again, phrase, the noun in the phrase that followed the subject, which is a fraction, and the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase. Based on that, boxes plural are plural. Here it looks very simple, but this question has been given in SBI 2017, I suppose, based on the same rule. Here, intentionally, deliberately, I bring simple sentences, but in the exam, to instill a sort of fear, they give a lengthy sentence and they try to use unfamiliar context. They give a sentence based on coral reefs or the Great Barrier Reef off the coast of Australia. A lengthy sentence, but based on the same rule. What is the rule? If a fraction is a subject, the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows the subject or the fraction. An important rule, not easy under pressure. Rule number 172, based on Concord rules, two nouns. This is an exception. Two nouns are considered by English people. Not all, sometimes, a few. Two nouns are considered one unit and they take a singular verb. Because they're considered one unit, they take a singular verb. Look at the example: bread and butter. How many nouns do we have here? Two nouns and joined by a conjunction and. Generally, for this pattern, we use a plural verb. But here, this is an exception. Two nouns are considered one unit and based on a singular verb is used. Bread, butter is his favorite breakfast. This has been given in many exams. One more example: slow, steady wins the race. Here, slow and steady. Again, we have two. They could be nouns, they could be adjectives. That doesn't matter. Two nouns or two adjectives considered one unit, then we have to use a singular verb. Here, the sentence is in present tense, affirmative, and if the subject is third person singular, we should add s or es to the verb. Based on that, slow and steady wins the race. In many exams, they have given slow and steady win the race. That is not correct. Excuse me. That is not correct. Slow and steady wins the race. So these two are exceptions, but an important rule. Rule number 173. Concord rules, two synonyms. Sometimes, not always, English people, they consider two synonyms one unit. Two synonyms are considered one unit and they take a singular verb. If you ask why, usually we cannot question. These are exceptions. And because they consider two synonyms one unit, obviously we have to use a singular verb. Example, if you read the newspapers, quite often you come across this: law and order is under control. Here we have two nouns, and these two nouns are synonyms. Law, order, both mean the same. But these two are considered one unit, and based on that, we have to use a singular verb. You don't come across a sentence like law and order are under control. No, law and order is under control. His power and authority. Again, we have two synonyms. Power means authority, authority means power. But these two are considered one unit based on that singular verb. His power and authority is respected by all. Perfect. Rule number 174, the phrase. If you take the phrase one of the, there are three important rules. The first one over here, rule number 174, the phrase one of the in its basic form takes a singular verb and a plural noun. Common error, a lot of people use a singular noun, which is not correct. And it's a common error. Based on that, in many exams, they have given questions. One of the students is absent. A lot of people tend to say, one of the student is absent. No, one of the noun should be in the plural form and the verb should be in the singular form. Based on that, one of the students is absent. One of the boys, a lot of people tend to say one of the boy is absent, not playing cricket, not correct. One of the boys, plural noun, is playing cricket, singular verb. Here, there are three rules I've just said. The first one, singular verb, no one makes a mistake. Singular noun is not correct, it should be plural noun. So you have to focus on whatever is important. Accordingly, here you have to focus on plural noun. Next one, rule number 175. Still with the phrase, I said there are three rules. One of the phrase is one of those and one of the things. Take a plural noun and a plural verb. Here you have to focus on a plural verb. People make a mistake, common error. They tend to use a singular verb that is not correct. What is the reason? I will explain. She is one of those students. Here we have the phrase one of those students. Usually, those who are not aware of the rule, they focus on she singular is a singular verb. Based on that, they think here they have to use a singular verb. But there is a clause over here who are interested in the subject. This is a dependent or subordinate clause, and this clause is related to those students, plural. Then we have to use a verb in the plural form. Based on that, she is one of those students who are interested in the subject. In the exam, so many times they have given, she is one of those students who is interested in the subject. Not correct. Here we have to use plural noun, and the clause is related to the plural noun. Based on that, we have to use a plural verb. He is one of those artists who have received international awards. Here, he is one of those artists. This clause is related to those artists, plural noun. Based on that, we have to use a plural verb. He is one of those artists who have received international awards. So here you should focus on plural noun and a plural verb. What is a common error? People tend to use a singular verb based on the subject, but here the subject is for the clause those students, those artists, plural. So we have to use a plural verb. Rule number 176, conquered rules. Still, the third one that goes with the phrase one of the. If these phrases, one of those, one of the things, are preceded by the word only, precede means to come before. We should use a singular verb and a plural noun. Here you have to focus on singular verb. Look at the example, you understand. He is the only one of our students. One of our students, a phrase, but before the phrase we have, this phrase has been is preceded by the word only. Then the rule says if these phrases are preceded by the word only, we have to use a plural noun, students plural noun, and a singular verb who is always punctual. A singular verb. He is the only one of our students who is always punctual. Only one who is punctual. Singular, obviously. Ramesh is the only one of our employees. The phrase is preceded by the word only. Then the rule says we have to use a plural noun and we have to use a singular verb who is always a regular. Here, who is always a regular. These two are very important. Rule number, in the past, they would give rule number 174. Now, a lot of candidates know this rule. They started focusing on rule number 175 and rule number 176. These two are very important. And usually they come in a lengthy sentence. So you got to read meticulously. Rule number 177, conquered rules, still with conquered. Error of proximity. What is the meaning of the word proximity? Proximity means being close to someone, closeness. Here, the box is on the table. Here, proximity, closeness between the subject and the verb. What is the subject here? Box. And what is the verb? Is. They are next to each other, no confusion whatsoever. So no one makes a mistake. The box is on the table. But look at this, the box of apples. Here, the subject and the verb they have been separated, and in between there is a phrase, and this phrase has a plural noun. Those who are not aware of the rule, they try to focus on apples, plural noun, and they think we have to use a plural verb. No. Here the subject is still the box, but the subject has been separated by a phrase. So you have to focus only on the subject and the verb. What is the subject over here? The box singular is on the table singular. Look at the third example. The box, that is a subject, of apples brought by one of the students. So many words between the subject and the verb. This is known as error of proximity. A lot of candidates they focus on students or apples, and they think they have to use a plural verb. No, here the subject is still the box, singular, is on the table. In between phrases and clauses are not important, you don't have to consider. Rule number 178. This is a separate topic, in fact, but here I've just brought two examples. You're going to learn separately subject verb agreement. And what are the two examples? The newly appointed manager. Generally, what happens in English, we have the basic pattern, SVO pattern, subject, verb, object. And the subject is usually one word or two words. But sometimes the subject could be a phrase, a clause, and usually it is a word. But subject could be a phrase, subject could be a clause. Here, the newly appointed manager, it is a phrase. That results in confusion. But you have to focus on the key word. What is the key word over here? Manager. The newly appointed manager has assigned the work. Manager singular has singular. So subject verb agreement is there. The student who always comes in time. Here we have a clause. The student who always comes in time is from Bombay. And what is the subject over here? The student. The student, singular, is from Bombay, singular. The subject, the verb should agree with the subject. A separate topic you're going to learn a lot of rules related to subject verb agreement. Many students focus on subject verb agreement, and many students, I'm not quite sure, but they are not aware of subject pronoun agreement, an important dimension, subject pronoun agreement, object pronoun agreement. The next one. Here, rule number 179, conquered rule subject pronoun agreement. In SBI, they gave this question. The MNC has decided to give its employees a bonus. Here, the MNC, what is the subject? MNC, multinational company, singular, has decided, singular verb, to give its employees the bonus. Here, there is no error. But in that exam, they gave the sentence, the MNC has decided to give their employees the bonus. That is not correct. What is the reason? Here, the MNC, noun, singular, and we have to use a singular pronoun. What is a pronoun in the possessive case? Singular pronoun in the possessive case, its employees, so no error. In the exam, they may give their employees, that is not correct. As I said, one more dimension many students are not aware of, object pronoun agreement. Even this has been given in a few competitive exams. Here, the object has to agree with the pronoun. In the previous example, subject has to agree with the pronoun. Here, the boy is a subject, picked up verb, picked up what? A stone. This is object. The object and the pronoun they have to agree with each other. Because it is singular, the boy picked up a stone and threw it into the lake. It because a stone. But in the exam, they may give the boy picked up a stone and threw him into the lake. Him goes with a person, so not correct. Stone is a thing, we have to use it. The boy picked up a stone and threw it into the lake. This looks very simple, but do remember in the exam, they try to give a lengthy sentence and they try to use unfamiliar context. Though the rule is the same, they try to test your knowledge related to a particular rule, but they try to confuse by giving a lengthy sentence and also by giving an unfamiliar context. But all that you have to do, you have to read the sentence carefully, meticulously, and when you read the newspaper regularly, you are exposed to a variety of contexts that will help in the exam. That's all for today. Thank you very much.